and then I'll go live.
All right, hold on.
To all the thieves, to all the fools that stifle me, they've come and gone and passed me by.
All right, I'm ready.
Oh,
we
you're
never
ready?
asked-
I'm gonna go ahead and start streaming.
Yeah. All right.
He's the star of the stream.
Yeah.
Baby.
Yeah, we figured it's a nice. We should probably have a bit of a departure from politics, even though we're only 3 episodes in. But there was a lot of news cycles that we've missed, and it's died down. And I mean,
Yeah, I mean it's not that bad though. We didn't miss a whole heck of a lot.
no, it wasn't too terrible at all.
We didn't want. Yeah, we certainly didn't miss Rudy Giuliani melting on live television.
Yeah, we did miss that unfortunately, but that's not as important to me as like a Trump coup, you know. But really, like the biggest thing of note to happen that I've seen is the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff.
That
Oh right.
yeah, that
Rittenhouse,
kind of pissed me
yeah.
off.
Rittenhouse is out of jail, and I joked
Mhm.
that they're releasing their generals in preparation for the race war.
Oh jeez.
Oh jeez.
I would love to see. You know, I mean, he would be their General Custer, wouldn't he? Though, just a piece of shit kid who has no real anything but symbolic.
Who has a complete disregard for life as well.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he represents Republicans in that they don't have very real.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get this straight. Like, just for anybody who might not be aware, Kyle Rittenhouse went to a BLM protest and shot and killed 2 people.
Yeah, he was like miles and miles and miles away from the protests too. So I mean, he went out of his way to do this.
He lived about 20 miles away from where the protest was happening. He crossed state lines with a gun that was not his, and then ended up killing 2 people in self-defense.
Quote.
And
Yeah.
and he's currently out on bail of $2 million because of his mother's appearance on Fox News.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, and because of support from the My Pillow guy too.
Right.
Yeah. My Pillow.
So the support from the white supremacist My Pillow guy.
My Pillow, my fascist.
You'll have the most comfortable sleep of your life once I put you in the camps. Yeah, fuck that guy.
Well, it's like you'll sleep pretty fucking good once I shoot you in the head.
Whoa.
Like, apparently, like that's the message that he wants to broadcast, I guess.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
Kyle Rittenhouse puts people to sleep, and so does my product.
Oh fuck.
God.
That's so bad. That's so bad.
Yeah. Oh my God, dude.
I mean, it was bad when I said it too. So.
Me too.
Yeah, to make
We're
it
all
worse.
complicit.
And I mean, the thing is that it's so fucking sad because you have this kid that has, you know, the entire future ahead of them, their entire future ahead of them, and they go and get involved with right-wing militias at the age of 17.
What are you talking about? He has an even better future because he's getting money for this. He's getting sponsorships. There was a freaking.
Just because he got bailed does not mean he's going to be.
He's being sponsored by the Black Gun Coffee House or whatever it's called.
To not be sentenced, you know, he could very well be sentenced guilty and not sentenced innocent. Now,
yeah, I certainly
from a legal
he's
from
guilty,
a legal standpoint,
or found guilty. He is guilty.
He hasn't been proven guilty, and he hasn't been proven innocent. But at time of recording, all of the information that we have points to this act of killing 2 people not being in real self-defense. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I hope they find him guilty. This is like, oh my God. And the fact that, you know, this is such a, this is a disgrace, you know?
Well, look, it all depends on what the law ends up being and what kind of judge they get, because there's a lot going on in the court level too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
I mean, you
Kyle,
get.
Kyle Ritten,
Yo, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Kyle Rittenhouse could end up in front of a judge who's sympathetic to Trump or just a Trump appointee, and the case could be dismissed, or it could end up going to the Supreme Court because of challenges. I mean, this is a stupid case.
I would be very, very surprised if it went to the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court usually reigns on things that federal prosecutors can't really like make a case on. They
Right.
work, off of the Constitution, and it's like very, very vague, like big ideas that the Supreme Court works on. I don't see it going up to the Supreme Court. Federal court maybe, yeah, but
Well, if they make
it's
it a second,
pretty
if they make it a
bog
Second
standard
Amendment issue,
murder.
if they make it a Second Amendment issue or a self-protection or a constitutional issue, yeah, it'll end up in.
Well, that's the thing. Your right to bear arms does not give you the right to murder people. So, sorry.
Well, they will argue that the right to bear arms gives you the right to defend yourself, even if you've crossed state lines with that illegal weapon.
Yeah.
It's going to be a very Rudy Giuliani-esque defense.
But
so
it's like
don't expect
here's
to
what
be
you
the
do.
strongest.
You are Ryan Kittenhouse, and
Kittenhouse.
you go to a fuel pump, a gas fuel pump, with 80 lighters in tow. You set all those on fire and chuck them at the gasoline machine, or the gas pump, and it blows up and it kills a bunch of people. And it's like, well, but did he mean to do it though? Like, yes, he.
Yeah, they'll
fucking
spend
meant
all
to
their
do it.
time arguing that, though.
He
Oh,
meant
yeah.
I mean,
to do it. It's obvious. Like, it's the murders against those specific people themselves. That's probably not premeditated, but but him going into a hostile zone with a firearm ready and willing to shoot people is, yeah, no, that's not what you should be doing. If you want to advocate for the right, then you do it in a normal friggin' way. Counter protest, dude. Show up with signs and snacks and bring your friends and counter protest and have a and not murder people. I don't see what's so hard about that. And I will denounce anyone on the left who has gone to like BLM protests or whatever, and in the very few that actually have gotten violent. I denounce any of that violence. I'm not generally okay with political violence.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, in history, it has been necessary sometimes, but I don't support it. I prefer to go along the peaceful way, and so the same applies for the people on the left. I don't want anybody hurting anybody, ideally.
Yeah.
well, here's something I think you might have mixed feelings about. I certainly do. What about these black protests? All black protests, or virtually all black protests, in which they are open carrying fully automatic weapons. Now, they're not hurting anybody, they're not harming anybody, but they are going out there and doing something that we have showed disapproval from the right.
I mean,
doing.
My thing is that if you want to bring guns with you, bring guns with you. I mean, the right has employed that as an intimidation tactic for how long? And I mean, I don't feel safe near any right winger with a gun just because of my political affiliation. But
it's
a
show of force, and here's the thing: is that it is still, even if you bring the gun, it's still a non-violent show of force.
Yeah,
you're just presenting, like much like the Black Panthers did. You're just presenting a strength and saying, "Hey, don't fuck with us." And that's all you're doing, right? And I'm not to say that the Black Panthers got everything right, because they didn't. Um, but at the same point in time, you like no matter whether you're on the right or the left, you have the right in states that allow for open carry to open carry. That's perfectly fine. I
Yeah.
don't care. But as soon as you put that thing into your hands and put your finger on the trigger, that's when I have an issue.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that because a lot of people on the right, they rail about it like, oh, you guys hate guns so much. How dare you let these black people do these marches with these guns? And at the same time, you're thinking to yourself, well, first of all, you guys do these marches with guns all the time, and I'd like to see a little bit more equality here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
it's pretty simple at that point, right?
sure, yeah. And the other thing is that this is the law. This is the Second Amendment that you guys have been spending so much time railing towards. They're going to take away our guns. They're going to take away our guns. Well, obviously, Democrats don't have that much of a problem with guns and are not so willing to take away your guns that we don't own them ourselves. And certainly, why would we say, I'm going to buy $1,000 automatic rifle just so I can pass legislature so I can take my gun away from myself? If Democrats own guns, don't worry, your guns are safe.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, but like I don't have a problem with guns. I don't. Learn how to use them. Be safe about it. But like, I don't see this like weird. Although I will say that the whole anti-gun thing does seem primarily to be like a neoliberal stance, but among leftists, it just isn't a very popular stance to have, being anti-gun.
I'm convinced it doesn't exist. I mean, at least it doesn't exist in the point where it's like a majority liberal trait.
I don't think it really exists in the country. We have a very strong gun culture here.
The sentiment of anti-guns is real and it is pervasive, but we have to realize that it is more of a liberal thing to think of. It's not really a left thing as much.
Yeah.
It's more of a liberal thing. Like, we don't know what to do about guns, so we're just going to try and get rid of them somehow by legislating this way or whatever. And it's like, that is not what we need to look at. We have to look at the underlying causes of gun violence in order to solve it. You can't solve violence by just banning the weapon that you're using that people are using to hurt others.
You have to look at broader societal issues. You have to look at, drug use. You have to look at housing insecurity. You have to look at, mental health. You have to look at poor wages. You have to look at,
people will use pointy sticks if they have to use pointy sticks, and pointy sticks aren't nearly as effective as like a semi-automatic rifle. Sure, absolutely, and there's something to be said there.
It takes a lot longer to kill 200 people with a stick.
Yeah, you wouldn't see what happened in Vegas.
True. No comment. Not telling you how I know this.
But it's a serious problem that we have to address. We have to address the underlying causes.
Well, banning guns doesn't do anything.
We can address weapons, and we can put certain limitations on certain things, but ultimately we have the Second Amendment. I think the Second Amendment is okay. It's generally a good thing, I'd say. I'd say that it's not generally a bad thing, and I think we should keep it around, but that doesn't mean that we can't change it just a little bit and modify it to meet the current modern needs of current America.
And I think, a lot of conservatives would probably not agree with that.
They
wouldn't. So let's take it to the macro level. Let's take it to the macro level. So the U.S. has upped production of nuclear weapons. We have put that on our list of goals of things to do for the coming end of the Trump administration. So as long as Trump is in power, we will continue to push nuclear armament in the U.S. How do you guys feel about nuclear armament as a fellow Red Alert player?
Well, when I played as the Soviets, I loved it because I thought the explosion on screen, the sprite that I saw was a lot cooler than when I played as Allied and I would like create a uh, um, weather storm that zapped people. Although I thought that was kind of cool too, but you know,
Well, that's very
I,
GI Joe. I mean,
but
some
I
bad
mean,
guys.
as a 6-year-old kid, you know, just playing Red Alert 2 for the first time, like I'm like, wow, that's bright and green and orange. Oh my god,
So
you know.
nuclear proliferation in the United States. Uh, we are diverting huge amounts of our productivity during a pandemic, during one of the worst periods of productivity in the United States history,
In terms of nuclear power, because you
to
know,
making nuclear weapons.
nuclear power was what we should have focused on, not nuclear weapons. We
Ooh,
we we had an but
that's a
here's the
big
thing.
debate for me.
You know, here's the thing. We had an opportunity to slowly transition away from fossil fuels and gas through the advent of discovering nuclear power. Um, we are at a point where we can't use nuclear power anymore.
We
You know,
Yeah,
shouldn't use nuclear power anymore.
you know,
we've reached a complete like
we've
stalemate,
we've
and
reached a
that's what
terminus.
that's what this nuclear stalemate is, and our ultimate goal should be nuclear disarmament,
I
in my
agree.
opinion.
Absolutely.
Um, we should not be making or processing those types of weapons of war. They are far too destructive, and they
And
do
we're
not
far too
care.
stupid.
And
You know?
So
they don't give a shit if you're a civilian. They don't give a shit if you're military. They don't give a shit if you're young, if you're old. They will just kill you dead and destroy everything that you love and everything that has ever existed around that area, and will continue to screw up whatever is there for
Well,
generations to come.
I mean, you
It's
know, the
so
biggest
destructive.
so it
here's
just
the thing. Here's how a nuclear weapon works. It's literally creating a reaction that is only naturally occurring in a sun for a split second. You know? And you're
actually it's hotter than the surface of the sun, which is
well, I'm
a
not talking
fascinating
about the
aside
surface of the
topic.
sun.
Yeah, it's the internal fission
Yeah.
of of uranium usually.
Hmm. And
Because
hydrogen.
the sun likes to go with hydrogen and helium. Um,
Right.
so like you have your hydrogen bombs, you know,
Hmm.
your pretty bog standard atomic bombs. Um, but I still think that nuclear disarmament is the only way to go. I have no idea how, as a people, as the human race, we're gonna get there. I honestly have no idea. I have no plan.
I'm concerned
Um,
about it.
We have enough
and yeah,
nuclear weapons on the planet right now to crack the planet in half.
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't doubt it.
I
Yeah.
mean, if they all blew right now in their respective locations, we would not be sitting on a livable planet anymore.
Oh yeah,
Um,
no, we would all be dead. Yes.
Fascinating stuff.
Okay, so how do you guys feel about like the science fiction trope where like, you know, a UFO comes in and you know, we launch an entire like like our entire nuclear arsenal at it and nothing happens to it. I think that's bullshit because
Well,
like
I certainly think the idea that human beings would meet a new alien and immediately attack it brutally and violently without provocation is very likely and probably would be exactly what happened.
oh no,
Uh,
I
They
agree that we would
overwhelmed
be
by
the but my point is like, you know, like Independence Day, they launch a nuclear weapon, strike some other ship, nothing happens. It looks unscathed. I I
well,
think
sure.
that's a bullshit
Okay, well,
trope.
let's
I
look
mean,
at
if you told someone, hey, this mothership flew into the middle of the sun, no one would think it would fucking live. But we're gonna sit there and accept that, you know, the command center of the mothership withstood the epicenter of a nuclear blast. Get the fuck out of
okay. How
here.
about this
I
one?
mean, it's
How
science.
about
It's
this one,
science
Star
fiction.
Trek fan? So
Hey, listen.
In Star Trek, they develop a phasing cloak that allows them to fly a ship directly into the center of a star. Yeah. Okay.
Star Trek is I mean that's
What?
bullshit too.
What's Star Trek? What is Star Trek? Star Trek's the greatest thing ever. Spock is your hero. Okay, that's
I
what I thought
never
you
said
said.
Spock was my hero. I said
I
Picard was
got
my hero.
Jean-Luc
you take that
Picard.
I
back.
said Picard, you
That
motherfucker. Do not sit here and tell me that I ever said Spock. I identified more with Data, asshole.
You
Of
would
course you did.
identify more with
Of course
Data.
you did.
Oh, shut up.
You wrote poems about your cat.
I don't have a cat, but yes, I did.
I wrote plenty of poems when I was younger. I used to write poems and songs all the time, and I just don't anymore.
Why not?
I don't know. I felt like I lost a little bit of inspiration. It just hasn't like come back to me. I haven't like felt like, yo, I want to get these feelings down. And
Okay. Well, yeah, that's interesting. So you probably wrote a lot in high school, right? I've noticed
yeah.
a lot of people's creativity diminishes once they get into the workforce. Here I am, a 40-year-old man who has barely worked his entire life, who has avoided steady work as much as possible, and I've continued to be a relatively creative person. But I've noticed that a lot of people who actually have genuine talent, who aren't me, uh,
I'm sure you
have
genuine.
this tendency to give up on their talent because and their answer is well, I'm working all the time, or I have kids now, or I'm working all the time and I have kids now, or the wife is this or the wife is that. So I don't know. I mean, I truly believe in a society of free time. That's
Oh
my that's
yeah.
my that's my ideal of socialist economics, is that we end up in a society where we can pursue our wants, and we have no excuses. When we die, we can't say, "Oh, I could have been a poet because I had, but I ended up doing this with my life." No, no, I want at the end of my life to say, "Well, I could have been a poet, but then again, I couldn't have been a poet because I had all the time in the world to do it, and I fucking didn't."
That
That's
is
the
kind
idea.
of the dream, you know.
I'm gonna get high now.
Jesus. Um okay, well, you do that. You do that.
Because
I
I'm in Nevada where it's legal.
I stopped most of my creative pursuits after college. Um, I used to make pottery. Um, I like you can even in frame, like you can just see a couple of the things that I've made up there. I know they're all the way in the back, and you can probably barely see them, but they're up on that shelf. You know what? I'll bring it down. I'll bring one of them down.
Yeah, good idea. You know what though? That is so true. Like, oh my god, it's actually making me think of like the creative pursuits I had. You
Right.
know,
What were you into? I mean, what did you
I
do?
I did a shit ton of world building. Like I
Yeah, hold that
had,
up for us.
huh?
Now I've made much better stuff than this, but I
Yeah,
still just have this around for some reason. It's a
wrote in.
duck.
Hold that up. So we have a wonderful ceramic baby Yoda.
It's a duck.
I know.
It's
I
a
can
duck.
tell
It's
that's
a
definitely
mallard,
a.
like a little mallard pitcher, except that it's extremely fucking heavy because I
Is
didn't
that a
know how to make this at the
is
time.
that a hole in the bottom?
No, it's just
Oh,
like
okay. So yeah, that's where it's baked. So did you make pottery here in town?
yeah, I made pottery in Carson. Yeah.
Was that at Ogre's home in the mall?
I actually did go to Ogre and Home after stopped going. Well, after I was done with college, I guess.
By
That's
When
a
the
nice
way,
little.
no one here lives in Carson.
and they're great people, and
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. Was kind of a side shout out to Lucas and his family's pottery business, Ogre and Home, or Ogre Dash Home Pottery in Carson City,
yeah.
Nevada. It's a lovely place, lovely
I didn't make
people.
this there, but Yeah.
No, but it's still a great pottery place. Where did you make that?
I made this in a college class just because I was like, hey, I want to make a mallard duck. I've never made a duck, and
You're a
so
mallard duck.
That's actually a really good looking picture, and I don't mean
well,
I'm not
I
kissing
mean,
your ass here.
not
It's,
so much, and it's
it's
very heavy. Like, I did not thin this out enough at all.
well, that's the thing, it's a prototype. It's not made out of the end material. The next one will be titanium.
Yeah, it's not
It's
even that good at clay.
a
I
molded
was working
cast.
at Ogre and Home. They have this really nice clay. It's called like Great White or
Yeah,
something, and it's almost like porcelain. Almost like porcelain. It's so smooth and it's so nice to make things on the wheel with that type of clay because there's no grit. There's no I can't remember the term for it, but there's no granules in it. So it's extremely smooth trying to like bring it up and like raise it and pinch it as you're creating it.
right. And for those who don't know pottery terms, raising and pinching are phrases that I've never heard before. So,
Ooh.
Well, just on the pottery wheel, you end up you put a little slab there, you
so
even it out
imagine
with your
you're in the movie
hands,
Ghost.
and then you take yeah, exactly. Imagine you're in
Yeah.
Ghost with Patrick Swayze, and just jab your thumb in there and create a hole in the center, kind of tuck it out, and it kind of expands as it's
So it's
spinning along the
spinning at this
wheel,
point.
and then you're kind of like dragging it up
So
slowly.
you you're doing this.
So you're kind of like pinching it between your fingers like that,
Oh, like
and
that.
then
Okay.
yeah, and
So
then like
you're trying to
rolling
make a lip,
upwards.
there.
Yeah, and you kind of just go up, and
My
and
my
and it's such a slow process,
my
but
fingers
it's
don't
so
do that.
calming.
They curve away from each other, so I can't
Well,
really
see,
do
that's
it.
the thing. You can do this, you can do that, you can do it with two hands. A lot of people do it with two hands, where they'll go into the clay with like let's say my middle finger here, go into the clay with my middle finger, and I'm on the outside with my other, and I just kind of pull it up like that.
Oh,
Um, and a lot of people do that. If you don't want to use one hand, if you feel like one hand is too, like there are some like really big um, pots and stuff that I've made that require both hands. And then there are other ones where it's like, yeah, I can do this with one hand. It's just a little cup, and I'm just bringing it up. But the nice thing about it is that it's just so calming because you're putting a lot of work and energy into making this thing, and but like the thing that you have to focus on is keeping your hand steady the entire time you're dragging this thing up, and you're doing that like, you know 15, 20, 30 times, and you have to do it so steadily as to not, make it uneven as you're making it.
right.
It's so
So
fun. I never thought it could be that fun, and then I took pottery classes, and I'm like, I love this shit. I want to do more.
yeah, I wanted to take a pottery class specifically so I could learn how the natives here, the Paiute
Oh my
Indians,
gosh. Yeah.
made pottery, and
I
it's really it's totally a different style. So what the natives do is they created a stick frame for their pottery, and then they slap it with mud, and then they dry it. They cook it in a kiln after the fact. So it's a very different way of making pottery, but
I
they
I
do
I
teach
had
it.
some. I've worked with some natives like in both Ogre and Home and in my classes, and oh my God, they've made some of the most beautiful pottery, and they make it, at least from what I've seen, mostly by hand, and they don't use a wheel.
That's
Yeah,
good.
no,
I've seen mostly people, make it by hand in like sheets, and then they bring it around, and they do such a fantastic job. I've
Mm.
seen so many incredibly talented people that
yeah,
probably aren't even going to stick with ceramics, and it's really sad because they make
That
really nice
is.
stuff.
well, yep.
I do feel
So
like
yeah,
creativity is killed a lot within the workplace, and I think that is kind of just it's sad. It's sad.
yeah, it's wild. I used to be kind of a writer.
Yeah,
I spent a lot of time writing, like, just a ton of time, and most of it I was avoiding schoolwork. So I had all this free time. I wasn't getting very good grades because I wasn't really
Mm-hmm.
applying myself to the classes that I did get good grades in. They were mostly test-based classes where you take a test at this particular period to gauge your knowledge. Biology is a good one. Social studies, whatever. You take a test at the midterm or at certain points just to see how much you've learned or whatever, and ace those. I did fine in those classes,
Mm-hmm.
but so where was I? Okay,
You were
yeah.
talking about
So
writing.
so the classes that I actually applied myself to were tended to be like upper level classes when I was a sophomore. In writing, and I think that's one of those things that school is missing right now is the ability to kind of focus on a student's strengths and keep them in classes in other terms to where they're not doing so well. That was what they did with me. They put me in advanced reading and story writing classes.
Mm-hmm.
So I got really good at this, but only because I was using it to avoid schoolwork. Again, we're talking about leisure. You get good at something when you have leisure time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buttered toast. You
Yeah.
said that you did. I heard you say that you were really good at something in high school, and it
Okay.
wasn't prostitution. So
Well, that
was
was
it?
I was second best at that, but
Second.
no,
There was a
but
valedictorian, literally.
yeah, I was
Valedictorian.
I was a valedictorian. Absolutely, I was. But no, there
The
was
dick right out of my
okay, so when I was in biology class, there was an assignment we had called it was called a cryptomorph. So every time we'd go through go through certain topics, we'd have a final assignment within that topic called our cryptomorph. So if we learned about homology, if we learned about homeostasis or evolution, or you know, we would actually develop our own creature based off of that. So what I ended up doing was I was like, this is like the perfect opportunity to like create like a sci-fi so I went like even deeper into just like because I think our first topic was in regards to evolution, and so I used that like
Sure.
assignment to like springboard. Here is a sapient sentient species called XYZ. They have colonized X amount of star systems within.
See,
I went like full overboard.
so
It
you were
was
world building.
I was
You were world building.
completely world building. Like, I went beyond just like the evolution thing. That was like secondary. Like the assignment was secondary to me. I was like, holy shit! I can actually like use this as a way to like talk about like imagine what an entire culture would be for a fictional race, and talk about their economic systems and their government systems. I was never interested in biology in terms of like that as a science. I was a lot more invested in the idea of culture and the government systems that existed with it in that species, or it was it, and I think I went way overboard compared to any other student. My science teacher at the time told me that I should really pursue writing and like making a graphic novel. Ironically, the same science teacher wrote a graphic novel himself, and I could probably like message him one of these days and see if he's willing to come on and talk
Well,
about.
that's a high compliment. That's a high compliment if your teacher says, "Hey, you should do what I do."
Hey,
No,
actually,
he showed me like what he was doing. Like he had this idea of like he did the same exact shit I was doing, and he had this world where it formed. It almost like one part split off and almost formed into to a moon, but it's actually still held together
Yeah.
to the planet because it's just cooled still. It's called opposable, I think. But he had the mathematics and the physics set for it and everything,
Right.
and it looked feasible. And
Universe.
yeah, and you know, I don't know if he's still teaching, but you know, he was a pretty awesome teacher. I got a
Well,
D in that class in high school, but I'm sure he would be happy to hear that I'm pursuing a degree in sociology, and you know, I'm doing well there. And
I've
I
always been pretty good with like interpretation. That's kind of my thing. When you were talking, I was thinking, yo, that sounds like that like the first time I ever played Stellaris. I made up this whole alien race in
mm-hmm.
my mind and like tried to put everything in the bio, and then it was only like this big because they only let you put so
Oh
much.
yeah, that
And
sucks.
yeah,
and
we
and I, and I
we
wrote out like this whole thing too.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah
my god, that sucks
we
so much.
we are definitely three guys who spend way too much time on character creation when we start playing a game.
oh,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
Oh,
I
Yeah,
I'll
mean, I
spend.
yeah,
I spend
yeah.
hours.
Okay.
Seriously, yeah.
So you
Like,
know,
oh, I don't know. Should the
I'm
hair be
playing
that?
Spore right now
Yeah.
in another window, and like it takes me 10 minutes minimum, maybe 50 to think of a name, and then you know, I'm spending like 30 minutes like making sure this one appendage is to my liking. It's
Yeah, I
weird,
mean, if you had
you know.
One appendage.
the more
Yes.
the more control a game has over character creation, the longer you spend on it. I don't know if I like the face quite that much. No, maybe I should make the cheeks slightly wider or the eyes.
Maybe I
No,
should
wait,
make the
they
breasts
do the eyes.
bigger too.
Should it? Should I do makeup? Oh no! Oh, there's makeup.
Speaking of which, let's get some opinions. I'm pretty sure we're all gonna have the same opinion here, but Cyberpunk 2077 coming out in December, maybe. And in that game, they have said many things, and with the customization options of your character, you can, as far as I'm aware, change the size and appearance of your character's genitals and breasts.
I'm all
Wait.
for it. I am. Hey, you know
Okay.
what? Fuck it.
I think it's really interesting that they're doing that. I think it's a really cool thing. But I'm wondering like how is it gonna be like an actual thing, or at any point do you actually see any of that stuff that like that dick that you worked on for 2 hours or whatever, or
I
I
think
mean,
there's
I
a lot
hope
of
so. I like, you
or
know, hold on.
or
If
or
I'm
or is or
spending,
is it kind of like a Saints Row 4-esque thing where it's like you can make the bulge bigger and that's what you do.
I mean, you know,
right.
if I spend 5 hours cultivating a beautiful frenulum, I want that frenulum to be shown everywhere.
In
Okay,
detail,
in detail.
4K resolution.
I need that frenulum to look crisp and moist and ribbed. Okay, and that's
That
all I'm
thing
gonna say
better look
about that.
that thing better look like it's ribbed for her pleasure.
I mean, you
Um,
know, quite
but
literally,
but
it
I think I
is.
think I think it's really interesting, like that as a society we're just like, how could you possibly customize an aspect of someone's body that you know is something other than their face or their like general musculature? Like how
Right.
how dare you?
I'm
And
waiting.
it's
I'm waiting for the day when you can custom order your baby.
oh, you know what? That I actually that brings up a really interesting question uh um about like what kind of eugenics that is. Like it doesn't even have to be like a genocidal eugenics or like some sort of bad thing. Like it doesn't have to be like, oh, we don't want black people making babies or whatever. But you could be like you're saying like okay, that sound. I'm not going to say that, but
That that
but you're saying like a designed child almost, right? Like
Totally.
a
I'm talking
genetically
designer
designed
baby.
child.
I'm
And
talking I'm
it's
talking
like,
about little babies who are genetically tampered with so that their entire body has a Pepsi logo on it and they make $200,000 a year on that sponsorship.
do you think that something like that, like maybe not, obviously not that extreme, but something like that kind of genetic manipulation of human beings, do you think that that goes beyond the pale and kind of past the line, or do you think that that's something that we're naturally going to get to?
There's a company that had a plan to laser etch the moon with their logo. This is a for real thing. It was actually a plan. It is not just a part of the movie Hitch, but these things have happened. These things exist. When
Is that
we
you?
have the power, we are going to do them. So uh, it's not a matter of what, it's a matter of when. So we're talking like we're talking about
Well,
the
I'm asking,
commercial use.
but I'm asking,
What?
do you think that it is like um that it is morally justifiable to have genetically altered children?
Oh yes. No, I think it's totally morally justifiable to have um, genetically engineered children. I think that it's actually kind of weird when we talk about like okay, I was just
it,
listening
it
to a story
I mean, it does kind of
about
seem
Fury.
like a weird. It does seem kind of like a bit of a stretch to like equivocate genetic engineering to eugenics, though, right? Like, I mean, I guess it makes
But
sense though.
you're kind of like selectively breeding out certain traits in the human race by
Yeah,
doing that. I
okay.
mean, you just are.
So
So,
so
Yeah.
here's the question. Here's the question. I've got a child with progeria. Do you know what progeria
yes,
is?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay, progeria is known as the aging disease. It affects maybe 20 kids in the entire United States. Uh, if we got rid of that, no child would be born with progeria. We would also lose out on an amazing chance to study the effects of aging rapidly in the human species. We could develop drugs that combat aging. So there's a moral dilemma here. You want your child to have a full and fulfilling life, and progeria people tend to die before they're in their 20s. Uh, Yet they also provide a unique study opportunity for us. So, Dr. Mengele style, we can not cure them and study aging, or we can cure them and get rid of a horrible disease that affects a very small number of very nice people,
Well,
children.
I mean, like, but here's the thing, though, is that if you're going to genetically alter children, I mean, I would assume that that child would be genetically altered to not start out with progeria. So, because I don't really think that there's any way, even during early stages as like a baby, I don't think there's any way to gene splice that like completely out. Um,
Okay, so
uh,
you're saying that
and
there's a moral high ground in getting rid of a genetic disease. But
well, I'm asking you, do you think that it is more morally justifiable to let nature run its course, or to genetically modify children to make them, quote, better?
I think it is a tragedy and a travesty to let nature run its course in any sense. I think that we have a moral responsibility to use science and technology to improve the lives of people beyond what nature has provided us. Nature can only go so far, and it gave us brains not so we could sit around and put our thumbs up our asses, although that's what we
Hey,
usually
I
do with
like doing that though. Like,
intelligence.
what's wrong with that? Like, I, you know, what's What's wrong with,
There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not inherently productive. So,
Sometimes I like to do
what
that.
you're but it's nothing anybody wants.
Hey,
So,
listen, what if it's what I want? Have you thought of that,
it,
Anthony? Have you considered what I wanted?
well, yeah, that's the thing. We do live in a very selfish society, and there are a few of us who are like, well, hey, what can I do with my gifted intelligence in my brain? Let's help other people. And then there are those of us who just don't, out of either pure
I like the
laziness or
thumb. Sorry. The holy thumb.
the other.
The holy thumb will grant me spiritual recognizance of my life. None of that made any sense, nor should
Not
it
a
have.
single word. Not a single word. Yeah.
None of that was supposed to make sense at all.
And like I do agree with you that science's primary function is to make the lives of all humans and also by extension all animals in theory better. It's supposed to make just life in general better for everything and everyone.
Here's all
It's
I
a,
here's
it's a
here's
code.
all I want. Okay, just all I want science to do is make blue alien women with tentacle hair a reality. Okay,
Okay,
that's
we
all I
get it. You
want.
like Mass Effect. We
Hey,
get it.
listen.
We get that you like Mass Effects.
You like the blue punani.
I,
Okay,
I
we get
The,
it.
the Blue
the
Nani.
the
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 sweet
the blue poony woony, if you will.
Oh no.
Anyway, they
I
just
like
look like a
punani.
cheap Star Trek knockoff. Um,
I mean, they
please.
are. I mean,
They
like.
look like something from Babylon 5.
You're not wrong.
I have to stay out of like Star Trek conversations because I don't know anything about Star Trek. Sorry.
Okay, do you know anything about Babylon 5?
Nope.
Babylon
then
5. My girlfriend
you're
got me into
better off
Babylon
from Star
5.
Trek Literatures.
Yeah.
I'm more of a Star Wars person. I'm more of the classic Star Wars person. I prefer the original trilogy.
Okay, what do you think about this new Mandalore?
I haven't watched it because I don't want to
You
give Disney my money.
Did you just call it
you have not
Mandalore?
watched it.
Hold on.
Here,
Did you
let me
hold
let
on?
me,
Did you just call it
let me give you
Mandalore?
a
Did you just call it?
It is the
I'm a
Mandalorian.
Trekkie, and it's Mandalorian, motherfucker.
say Mandalore. You can say Mandalorian.
You can go to your mom and say your mom, because it's fucking Mandalorian.
You can even
Regardless,
say Mando.
Yeah, you could, but it's still Manda
regardless,
fucking Lorian.
I don't especially like Disney, and I'm not going to pay like what is it like $20 a month to watch The Mandalorian. It's
Oh
fine.
hell no.
Then Jesus, steal it like I do.
I mean, I could, but I have so many other
Anthony,
shows to watch.
what the hell is wrong with
I have
you?
so many things on Netflix, and I have so many more things on Crunchyroll that I need to watch. So,
Rodan, all I gotta say, this is my review of The Mandalorian. It is like watching A New Hope for the first time.
oh really?
Yeah.
That's a
That
pretty
good, huh?
I mean, I have heard I have heard really good things about the show. And like I'm sure that I'll see it eventually, but I just don't fucking care. Like I watched the first new Star Wars film and then I didn't watch any of them after that cuz I thought it was garbage.
I didn't either. In fact, I think I watched half of the first film. I gave up on it. I watched Rogue One. I thought it was okay, but that disappointed me so much that I did not watch Rise of Skywalker, whatever the fuck that was. The final movie.
Yeah, I didn't watch I didn't watch anything past the first new movie because I just didn't like it, you know, and
It was so awful.
it has nothing to do with Kylo Ren, you know, being a female lead. I don't care. I don't think that she
Kylo
performed like
Ren.
that well in that movie as an actress, personally.
I think she did
Um,
fine. My
but
issue was with
but the story is just fuck like what and I'm also like okay, like I get it. She has like Skywalker blood in her or like whatever, so she's like good with the Force, but nobody picks up a friggin' lightsaber and is instantly good at it. Okay? Luke was
I would have
also a
loved.
Skywalker and wasn't instantly good at that shit. It
Yeah,
took
yeah,
him
we
years in Dagobah, training with Yoda in order for him to be even somewhat decent.
right, and he had to stand on his head and do flips with an alien on his back, and
Yeah.
uh,
And
right.
Kylo just
So
picks up the lightsaber and is suddenly rearing to go.
you're talking about Ray, I guess. Yeah,
Ray, not Kylo. Oh yeah.
they called her a Mary Sue, but yeah. Now, as a huge fan of Adam Driver, I have to say that Star Wars was the biggest piece of trash he was in. Uh, he's been in so many fucking excellent movies since Star Wars that
Marriage Story.
I'm
Have you
glad
seen
that Star Wars existed.
have you seen Marriage
But
Story?
what?
Have you seen Marriage Story or A Marriage
Marriage
Story?
Story? No, I have not.
It's a movie with Adam Driver, and it's literally just a drama between a an ex-husband and ex-wife, and it is so fucking good, and they did such a fantastic job in their like respective performances. It really made like with after the first remake Star Wars movie, or not remake, but the new Star Wars movie, I was like, I don't really care about this Adam Driver guy. I don't get why people like him so much. And then I see A Marriage Story, and I'm like, you know what? He is a phenomenal fucking actor. Give this guy
Right.
a good script, and this guy can do some good work.
Right, which shows you that Star Wars was a piece of trash because of Adam Driver, who I saw in The Black Klansman and was freaking phenomenal. Adam Driver, if he cannot make that script work and a property like Star Wars interesting enough for us to watch, then nobody can. Or else you have to write a way better script. Give
I
him a script.
I thought that his character in Star Wars was a massive fuck off pussy. Like
Yeah, no, he
just
was.
just really really bad as like a Sith character. Like, oh my god, does this man complain, and oh my god, does this man just act like a like a like a child. And it's like, I get
I
it, he
have.
kind of is like a child Sith basically, but I
Yeah,
just I just
I have
I just think
contented.
it's so dumb.
I have contented myself to the fact that if it's a Star Wars thing, it's going to have at least one whiny little bitch in it. It
Well
just
then.
it
In the originals it was C3PO, so
well, kind of, but it was also Luke Skywalker. I don't know if I can do this. Ah, it's so, but that thing's too big. Oh, that's
sounds
Yoda had to keep
Oh,
saying, "Look, you
that
figure out
is
the
really
size of it.
big.
You got to understand it's the Force. The Force works this way." And Luke was like, "But I can't." And then Yoda was like, "Only when you say you can't.
yeah, but at least like
That is why you fail."
yeah, but he's just some fucking nobody out of
A
Tatooine,
rat on
right?
the log.
You know, like
Right.
he's not he's I mean of course he's Anakin Skywalker's son, but he's basically just some nobody from Tatooine. That's kind of what his life was.
Yeah,
So you know,
that's what we got
I
when we.
expect a character like that to feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah, before we knew anything about Star Wars, when A New Hope came out, we were overwhelmed in our seats. When I was a baby and I first saw Star Wars, which was years after it had been in theaters, um, I was fascinated. Yoda was just this thing that was incomprehensible, and Frank Oz made it into this iconic creature that we all wished we had as a friend. Even though it was an old man, it was like, hey, I want to be friends with that really old guy. He likes hard candy. My best friend likes hard candy and taking slow walks in the park, and he's adorable, and he's 900. uh, that was the great thing about Star Wars. It made old people fun. Yeah,
Yeah, and
sure.
I mean, I really did enjoy the original Star Wars movies, and I think like the prequel trilogy number one is obviously the worst. Well, okay, number one's not the worst. Number two is the worst. Number one comes second, and number three was an okay movie in my summation, in the way that I think of it. I think number three was okay.
Have you ever heard the term office hot?
No.
Okay, office hot is a very sexist term. And it's the idea that if you are stuck in an office with a certain group of people, eventually you'll become attracted to one of them, no matter how unattractive they are. Because you're stuck with, say, 4 people throughout your day. Of those 4 people, you decide that this one is the best looking, even though none of them are very good looking. Suddenly, this person becomes office hot. Well,
Oh
I
yeah, I've
personally
heard
think
of that term.
I think of Revenge of the Sith as the office hot version of Star Wars.
You're not wrong. I
It's
I
not
can't say that you're
complete.
wrong.
It's not complete trash. If it had been a standalone movie, we
Yeah.
would have been like, "What is this crap?
Yeah.
What is this bullshit? I have the high ground." Really? Is that the
It's
line you
over,
want to go
Anakin.
with?
I have the high ground.
Eh, I'm powerful. I don't remember what his line was, but it was
Yeah,
so
it's
whiny. And
I
again,
hate you.
I
I'm better than you.
hate
I
you.
I
love you,
hate
Anakin.
you.
You are like a brother to me.
But from my point of view, it's the Jedi who are evil.
You guys
So you
didn't
get my
make me
point.
a Jedi Master. What the fuck? And then I went and
They
killed a
have
bunch of
one.
kids, and I'm the bad guy.
So here we are, Anakin Skywalker, the whiny bitch of the prequel series, and he was from the beginning. He did not have a character arc,
You
unlike
got
his
to admit,
son.
though, that like like, even I know that these movies came out first, obviously, but he got his act together in the original trilogy, because like he just invited his enemies to like a brunch, and he's just like, y'all want to sit down, and they're like, no, pew pew pew, and he's like, okay, come on, why we could have just sat down and talked, but you just had to shoot at me.
Pretty
Right?
much.
We could have talked. We could have talked about how much we all hate sand.
Yeah, we could have talked about how much we hate sand. We could have talked about the fact that I'm Luke's father, but we couldn't get to that because you didn't want to sit down and have a fucking sandwich with me. Okay?
Or we could have
Like,
had a series of intense discussions about trade federation blockades. I mean,
like,
really.
I know he's a Sith and he's like evil and all that, but
I
like
have no
the worst that you could
idea what's
possibly
going
do is
on
like
anymore.
sit down and then possibly be overrun with stormtroopers. That's the worst possible outcome. And even then, you have Luke Skywalker in the party. You have
Well, let me just tell you, it didn't work out that well for the Jews.
you have Han Solo, who is a crack shot and way
And
way
shoots
way better.
first.
Yeah, and always shoots first.
Always
That
Shoots
shoots
piece
first.
of
first,
shit
asks
every
questions
fucking
never.
time. But you have a crack shot at the team, and you're just like, oh, I'm gonna shoot at the guy who has fucking magic mind powers. Yeah, good
Star Wars.
idea.
Star Wars taught me one thing about movie making, and that is that George Lucas should never be allowed to make a movie
Agreed.
without severe restrictions. I mean, honestly, it's like Star Wars was a completely different thing when it started out, and it had all these restrictions technologically. It's like, oh, I want this big fat blob creature to exist and walk around this whole room here and talk to Solo and look convincing, and they were like, well, we can't do that,
Yeah,
so we can't have the scene.
just have a
And
massive
the movie
slab
was
of
so
meat.
much better for not having these stupid scenes in them. And then George Lucas later, he's like, hey, I'm going to take my movie and I'm going to put all of the scenes that I couldn't get into there before, and
And
now it's
then
going to
make
suck.
Guido shoot first. Excuse
And
you?
now it's going to suck. And why does that have to be your argument with why is that the thing you have to stand by? It's like
Well, I mean,
we
it's just
love
like
the fact that Han Solo shot first.
that's
It was
the
controversial, but we
that's
talked
the
about it.
thing. That's the great thing about it is that
That's the thing about movies right now.
it's like that he's a hardened, kind of like,
He's the
bounty hunter
criminal.
type dude. And he just does what he fucking wants to do, whether he, is going to shoot you in the canteen or not. And
He's a complicated character. He's a criminal who's out for himself, but he also has this strange tendency to become loyal to people he likes.
Yes.
and he makes friends and like sticks with those friends, and I really just preferred the way that the originals just handled it. It's because you
Right.
don't have to your hero, or like your side hero Han Solo, doesn't have to be a perfect fucking human being. This dude could the movie is set in a very outlaw like universe. And it would be perfectly normal to have a character like Han Solo shoot somebody for saying something he didn't like.
Well, when I was a kid, and this was before the prequels, there were a lot of arguments going on that were settled by the prequels and by the extended and special edition versions in the 1990s. And I was in my 20s by the time all these arguments were settled. So I had my teenage years listening to Star Wars arguments like, okay, Han shot first, but why did he shoot? Why is Han such a bad guy? And we're like, yeah, because he is. So the argument was they shouldn't have made Han such a bad guy. Most of us were like, well, he was a complicated character, and we like our characters complicated. But the stupid people outnumber the smart people who like their characters complicated. And the stupid people, their whininess, their Luke Skywalkerness, their Anakin Skywalkerness, created this powerful whiny magic and changed the Star Wars movies so that Greedo shot first.
After this, I'm not gonna talk about Star Wars anymore. But like, if you think of movies from that era, like Indiana Jones, the scene in Indiana Jones where he just takes out his gun and shoots the dude who's like brandishing the sword, right?
That's so funny because I was actually going to bring that up.
That is
Yeah.
that is just that's a very simple thing that your character can do that gives them some development. And it's just like
And if
he doesn't see the point in showmanship. He just wants to do the job. And
if George Lucas had his way,
bring
that
the
iconic legendary scene would just be a fight scene. And that's what it was in the script. It was just a fight scene where Indiana Jones did all these clever tricks, jumped off of things, escaped, dodged sword blows and whatever, and it turned into just a scene where he takes 3 seconds to shoot a guy, becomes one of the most iconic scenes in movie history.
Yeah, it's a fantastic scene. It's funny. It's so full of character. It's a fantastic scene.
Han Solo shooting first was an iconic film scene, but we didn't understand it to be so until it was too late.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean just in general. Yeah, I mean I don't know. I'm into other stuff right now, and I'm like focusing on other stuff. As far
well,
as
that
like,
was our Star Wars episode, so
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
every
Star Wars.
Every show has to have one. Peter Griffin had one, so we had to do ours. Robot Chicken had one.
Oh god,
Yeah, so
Robot Chicken. I haven't seen that in forever.
I kind of miss Robot Chicken.
Green has done Chezzy. What is he up to? Let's find out what Seth.
Well, Seth MacFarlane is doing Seth MacFarlane is doing the Orville.
No, I'm talking about Seth Green. He's the guy who
Seth
created
Green.
Robot Chicken.
Oh, okay. I heard Seth MacFarlane.
As of February 7th, let's see.
He was at Comic-Con in 2018.
Acting,
Isn't he still doing?
Is Robot Chicken still going?
Robot Chicken is still on Adult Swim.
Wow, I didn't know that actually. I didn't know that it was still going. So
that's a huge project, so that would make sense why he's not doing anything else.
It says Seth is also part of a yet-to-be-seen Star Wars TV series
Oh, good God.
as of February
Interesting.
2nd of this year.
Speaking, well, that's a nice little rundown. I wonder what
Isn't
that's
it?
all
Yeah.
about. So let's see.
He wrote and directed a film released in 2019 called Changeland.
They're talking, and I certainly don't think that there's a likelihood. Okay, it's called Star Wars Detours. It's an American unaired animated comedy series. It's a parody of Star Wars,
That's interesting. But I mean,
but
Seth MacFarlane did that with
it's a Star Wars property. It's a parody of Star Wars within the Star Wars realm, and it's a Star Wars property. Therefore, it's a Disney property. So Seth
I
Green
just
is.
I just want a fully fledged Star Wars movie just about Jar Jar Binks. Just for the
You
no.
know what?
just
I
for
Wait,
the meme.
really wish they had
what?
gone with it. That fan theory about him being a Sith is just that.
It's really fun, isn't it?
That would have made my day
We
if
talked
he had
about
been
that the
Darth.
first time that we like met too. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a cool fan theory.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the cooler ones, and when I first read it, I was like, oh, that would be funny if he was like fucking plotting shit in the background, like.
He is a terrible character, and you hate him, and I think that
He's
Lucas
such a
missed his opportunity to say, here's somebody that everybody universally hates. Clearly, I'm doing the right thing.
And now he's a villain, and now he's
Now
going
he's
up
the bad
against
guy, and
against
everybody in
Red.
the theater would go, "Oh, that was clever and smart and funny. Thanks,
Yes.
George."
I mean, like, here's the thing: is that I swear to God, if these people like focus tested more and like actually reached out to fans and said, "Hey, what do you think is like really missing? What is something that we could explore that would make you happy?" I think that, and this thing, not just guys, and focus test with fans and say what would make the story more interesting for you, and then I think that we would have a lot better shows, honestly, because it's not just writers doing all, like, when you are a writer and you're just sitting down and you're with your script, or you're maybe with your co-writers, and you're writing something up and you're bouncing ideas back and forth. You're bouncing ideas back and forth of a group of people that are already kind of thinking the same thing. But when you do it with people that are just fans and have had their own thoughts about the series or about whatever property you're making for such a long time, those people can have some really interesting ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. My point. If I were to give any advice to the show writers of The Mandalorian, don't tell us where Yoda's from. Don't show us the planet. Don't do it. Don't take us there. Don't make us even think you're about to take us there.
Isn't he originally from Dagobah, though?
No, 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 no. Dagobah is an empty planet. It's basically a jungle swamp world.
I know that he was like 600 years old when he died, but
900.
900. Okay.
Yeah.
900 years old when he died. But
Well,
I
look as
I thought
good.
that
Look as good when you are 900 years. You will not. Um, the,
yeah.
or look
He,
as good when 900 years you are. Anyway, so the point
yeah,
is that
Yoda speak. Yeah.
right, Yoda speaks. So Yoda is not from Dagobah. That's actually been confirmed over and over again in Star Wars canon,
Okay.
from legends like the old books to the original series to the original toys, which they're canon.
Like I said, I'm a fan. I'm not really a mega fan. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, no, but like you're talking about when you're talking
Mandalorian
about the
is a good
canon of a
series.
series, and I am
I'm
kind of a
not a
mega
fan at all. I don't know what's going
It does
on.
it does sound like you know quite a bit about it. Yeah.
Right. So like you have characters like Dash Rendar, which nobody knows about because they weren't in the movies. But Dash Rendar is a character that appears in the background scene of a movie, and has this and has whole books about him and a whole series. And his toy was available when Star Wars came out. So when the movies came out, they had a Dash Rendar Star Wars figurine,
Hmm.
along with your Luke Skywalker, your Han Solo, and your Chewbacca toys for Christmas in 1979. So
The ungodly amount of money that property made.
Right. So they were already building onto the thing. So you get the Yoda toy, and the Yoda toy is, a little thing that comes it's a little plastic thing that comes in a package. On the back of it, it refers to his homeworld as it refers to his species as Yoda's species, and his homeworld is Dagobah. We know that Dagobah is not his homeworld because there are no other Yodas on Dagobah,
No other
and
Yodas on
there are
Dagobah?
no
There's
Yeah,
no.
we don't know where any Yodas come from.
As far as I think, as far as we know, he was like the last one too.
No, because in
No?
episode one, there is a council member who is another member of Yoda's
Shit,
species.
I don't remember that.
They're also referred to as tridactyls. Like if you look in the some of the not fan stuff, but some of the references in the books, they're referred to as tridactyls, which just means three-fingered. So their species doesn't have a known name that we know about. There's a reference to, I think, not Qui-Gon Jinn, but Samuel L. Jackson's character. I can't remember it.
Mace Windu.
Asking Yoda where his species was from and being upset that Yoda wouldn't tell him. But Yoda didn't want the Jedi to know where his species was from. That's kind of a weird thing to not want the Jedi to know. So yeah, no, there was at least one other Yoda species on the council in episode one, and although we never see Yaddle again, she's recognized in the canon.
Yoda's species.
Yep.
And was ancient and shrouded in mystery.
Yep.
They're
So
just
we have
beings.
We have an actual Star Wars mystery that we know nothing about, that they have not explained to us in any way. We've gotten explanations for Boba Fett. Boba Fett was a nobody when the movie came out, and he was so popular after the fact that they put him in the Christmas special, that abomination. and Boba Fett became the absolute most fan theoried character ever in a series. But one of the things that they did was they created this character that looked kind of cool, and then they made him unimportant in the series. Boba Fett is always in the background. You only hear his name once in the entire trilogy, and that's when Han Solo. Boba Fett, where?
And so it says here that that every single member of Yoda's species were active Force users, with several of them being Jedi. That's all it says. That's all it says.
Yes. Yeah, and so there's two absolutely canonical Yoda characters. That's Yoda, of course, and Yaddle.
Yaddle.
Yeah, Yaddle.
I'm sorry. This Star Wars thing completely took over the entire.
I know. It did turn into our Star Wars episode.
Sorry.
Which is fine with me. We needed one.
Like I said, I have no idea what's going on because I've never really watched Star Wars, but maybe I should watch some and
at least watch the original 3.
I'll do that. Yeah.
They're good movies.
Oh yeah.
They're good movies.
It's unfortunate when you don't know, or when you already know the ending of a series, though.
Well,
I haven't really been paying that much attention.
I knew how it ended when I first watched it when I was young. I mean, because it had been out for 30 years almost.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't because I was like 5 when I saw it.
20-some years. But yeah, it's good. I like it, and some people are just like Omega fans, and and there was the Clone Wars animated TV show that they had up,
which was decent.
People really liked. People really like that.
I liked the Rebels series as well. That was pretty decent.
I only watched some of the Clone Wars. Like I said, I'm a fan, but I'm not like a mega fan that's seen everything. Definitely not.
I waited until the Clone Wars was out on Netflix, and then I watched that the whole series on there. It was really good. It was sad when the original voice of Palpatine died, because then they replaced him with Tim Curry. And while I love Tim Curry,
Did Tim Curry not do a good job?
he was not the Emperor. I mean,
That's a shame.
Tim Curry did a fantastic job.
It has a different tone when it's Tim Curry's British voice. Kill him! You're like, no.
Kill him.
Kill him.
So the transsexual of Transylvania did not kill Luke Skywalker.
He did not fill Palpatine's shoes very well at all.
But you know what though? I liked Rocky Horror Picture Show. I loved that shit.
I love Tim Curry. I think he was the best butler Clue could have ever had.
Oh, that movie is fantastic.
That was a pretty good movie. I actually didn't. My girlfriend actually introduced me to that movie recently. I didn't even know it existed until.
It's a really good movie. Yeah.
Wait, which one?
Clue.
Clue. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know it has like a multitude of different endings, right?
Yeah, it has an ending if each person was the murderer, including Tim Curry.
Well, it has 5 different endings, one of which is the butler did it, and one of which is Miss Scarlet, Miss Peacock, Professor Plum, and Green, I think. So there's like 5 different endings. It doesn't encompass every character.
Did they like randomly play like different versions at the movie theaters when it came out?
Yeah, at the theaters they got each.
That's so cool.
They got a different ending per theater.
Really?
Imagine fans like they're like, oh, did you see the Clue movie? Yeah, I saw the Clue movie. Wasn't it great when Mr. Mustard? You know?
Oh, whoa!
And it's like, what?
Miss Scarlet did it.
That didn't happen in the movie. Yeah, like
that
must have been so fun.
With you.
That must have been so good.
That would have been great.
I've thought of in the past, like if I was to make a book, I would make a book with multiple endings. And I would have it numbered 1 through 6, ending 1 through 6, but there's actually no ending 5, but people will constantly look for ending 5.
I've always liked having like several endings to like a story or whatever. Just the variety is nice.
Those choose your own adventure books.
Oh,
or chapter 1, and then chapter 1 is followed by a blank page, and then chapter 2, and then the rest of the book starts at chapter 2, but you get no chapter 1.
Right. Of course.
Yeah, I just love playing with the medium like that. I love it when people get creative and just say, you know what, let's try our crazy, stupid idea. Because sometimes they're really fun. Sometimes they are really, really fun. Yeah, so this has definitely not been a very political stream, and I think that's fuck. I'm kind of glad, honestly, that we're just taking a minute to not talk about it. Because that's all that we talk about.
Pretty much. It kind of sucks.
And but that's what we're here for. We're supposed to try and tell people about what we see are issues.
Mm-hmm.
But right now things are as stable as they have been for the past several months. The most unstable thing right now is COVID.
Yeah.
So
and our president.
Well, yeah. Did you guys drive by
meant unstable as in like just not,
Did you guys like come across one of those don't let the steal happen rallies,
I mean, obviously I didn't. I live in an extremely Anthony, do you live in the same area that I do?
I live in Dayton.
Yeah. So yeah, I haven't seen anything except for recalls to select people.
Yeah,
Yeah, no. I've seen the Trump train all over town.
it's
Those
weird.
guys are they're. I am actually kind of worried, and I've been voicing my worry throughout the day, over and over again, and I don't feel like I've expressed it at all on the show. But I am truly worried that Trump's going to tweet out to his followers to block the steps of the White House and keep Biden out,
I think that
and they'll show up.
and here's the thing, even if they do, they literally can't. They can't stop the process without like actually throwing a coup. In which
Yeah,
Like,
case all of those people will be put in federal prison as far as I'm concerned.
yeah, well, unless it's a successful coup, and then we all end up in federal prison.
Well, yeah. But I highly doubt that they're going to prioritize a couple of socialists from Dayton, Nevada. Okay.
You
yeah,
know, I don't know. The last thing I read
I'm just joking.
regarding the Proud Boys was that they they were caught, or a splinter group or themselves, one of the two, were caught targeting a family of four because